Then we have reasoning function. Reasoning function means like language is used as a tool of thought, right? Before we say something, we think, and to do that, we necessarily use language, right? What is there? That speaking and writing comes from thoughts. So this is reasoning function of language. It is reasoning function means language is used a tool of thought, right? It is reasoning function. Next is communicating function. Communicating function means like we use language for communication, right? We use language to express ourselves to other. We also need language in order to understand what they are communicating to us, right? What we use the language for, what is the function of language? It means it is used for communication, right? We request people, we apologize, we inform, we order, whatever we do, right? That is like that all comes in the communication function. So basically communication function is communicating our ideas and understanding other people's too. So this communication function means language is the basic tool. Language is something through which we communicate. So this function of language is called communicating function. Next function of language is pleasure function. Pleasure function means like language allows us to derive pleasure from it, right? A large part of the pleasure we derive from language comes from the successful exploitation of linguistic novelty at different levels of the language, right? What does it mean? We use language in different ways to get pleasure, right? For example, we use alliteration in it, we use assonance in it, we use different things. We like in the poetry as we use different things, different type of like strategies. We exploit the language in that very way which could give us pleasure. So another function of language is that it is used for pleasure. It provides pleasure to the people, to the listeners, to the speakers. Those were micro function. Now come to the macro function. So first them is ideational function. What is ideational function? It refers to the conceptualization process involved in our mental activities, right? What does it mean simply? It means that it makes us understand what happens around us, right? This is ideational function of language. After that we have interpersonal function. Interpersonal function, what does it say? It emphasizes that language is mainly a social phenomenon. It is a social phenomenon. It enables to project the speaker in the desired way and to represent the speaker, right? This is interpersonal function of language. Then we have textual function. And what is textual function? It is basically the ability to create long utterances or pieces of writing which are both cohesive and coherent by using certain linguistic devices. This is textual function of language, right? We are talking about macro linguistics, macro functions, and textual function is one of them. Then we have poetic function. In poetic function, it is the ability to manipulate language in creative ways. As the name is telling you, poetic function is to manipulate the language in creative ways to create new things out of that. Let's talk about micro and macro function of language, right? And now we are going to talk about micro-holiday function of language. So basically, micro-holiday abstraction here is with a manufacturing function that indicates the children. Okay? That is that the children are motivated to develop language which are expressed as functions for them. So what are these functions which Michael Halliday has given for the children? So of the language, right? So let us read them one by one. Which Michael Halliday function is childhood, right? It's a very easy and simple type of function. Like instrumental function, what does it mean? It is when the child uses language to express their needs. Function is language performed for them, that is instrumental. How, like when he wants to have something to when he want to express his needs, like I want juice, I want milk, or whatsoever. Then second is regulatory function, right? This is a function which is served by language to a child. This is where language is used to tell others what to do, right? Child use it, for example, go away. Then interactional function. Here language is used to make contact with others and form relationships, right? Like love you mommy, love you daddy. This type of this function is also performed by language for a child. Personal function. This is the use of language to express feelings, opinion, and individual identity. For example, a child say, "Me good girl." So what is that personal opinion? Na? His her personal opinion or her personal feelings. So this function is served by language for a child. Then heuristic function. What is this type? Like this is when language is used to gain knowledge about the environment. Fine. Like what the tractor is doing, what the how the TV is like switch on, right? Imaginative, another function. Here language is used to tell stories and jokes and to create an imaginary environment. The language is used to create some jokes, stories, or to create some type of imaginary environment around them. They use language for that thing too. So this is another function that perform language perform for a child. Then we have representational function, the use of language to convey facts and information. Like when the child uses the language to convey facts and information. So here language is performing the representational function for a child. So these were those seven functions which were given by Michael Halliday, right, of a child language. Let me revise the functions, right? Then from here we will start the functions. So what have we done in functions of language? So we have seen that language is a tool which is used by its speakers to perform various tasks, and these tasks are called functions. Then we had talked about some linguists who had worked on functions of language. Here then we had talked about two aspects or two types of functions, journal or micro or macro aspect or macro functions. Here we have talked about micro, and micro we said it was given by Finch, by the way. Okay, so physiological function, fatigue function, recording function, identifying function, reasoning function, communicative function, pleasure function. These all are um, micro functions. So here physiological functions, we said that these are used for releasing physical and nervous energy. Then fatigue function is used to express willingness to be sociable, right? Then recording function, it is that use of language to make a durable record of the things that ought to be remembered. Then identifying function, which allows to identify and encourage to identifying people, right? So it is also there, identifying function. Then we have reasoning function. Reasoning function means language is used as a tool of thoughts, right? We do, before we say something we think, so language is used for it. Then we have communicating function. Communicating function means like language is used for communication, the basic thing, to express whatever we want to say and to understand what the other people are saying. That is communicative function. Then we have Then we have pleasure function. Pleasure function means we use language for pleasure, right? Language serve the function to give us pleasure. We can use different type of, like we have talked here about the like using alliteration in the language and assonance and different things to make it pleasurable. Then we had come to the macro functions. Ideational function, what is that? It refers to conceptualization process involved in our mental activities. Basically, it makes us understand what happens around us. Then we have interpersonal function, right? It emphasizes that language is mainly a social phenomena. Fine. What it does, it enables to project the speaker in the desired way and to represent speaker. Then we have textual function. It is ability to create long utterances or pieces of writing which are both cohesive and coherent. Then we have poetic function. It refers to the ability to manipulate language in creative ways. This was about micro and macro functions of language, and then we had talked about Michael Halliday functions of language of child, right? So what were those functions here? Here, Michael Halliday, he had like in 1975, he had identified 7 functions that language has for a child, fine, in his early ages, in early year. So these functions motivate a child to develop language, right? Because he wants language to serve these certain functions for him. So what are those functions? Personal function, first of all, it is use of language to express feelings, opinion, etc. Heuristic, that is when language is used to gain knowledge about the